Again, so this video was requested by YouTuber the Jake Brown Collection. Really good YouTuber, fascinating stuff, collector. I do pay a visit to his channel. Somebody I'm subscribed to. He suggested that, or requested rather, that I do a video about the World War II British 37 pattern water bottle. And so, there, right. 37 pattern water bottle. For the benefit of this video, we'll call it the 37 pattern water bottle in the title. And although collectors and dealers know it as the 37 pattern water bottle, to get to this stage, the British Army went through other patterns of water bottle. So although on the collector circuit this is known as the 37 pattern water bottle because it fits on the 37 pattern equipment, it's actually the Mark 7 water bottle. And the British Army went through 6 previous marks dating back to the Victorian and Edwardian era, which are outside the scope of this video. What we call the 37 pattern water bottle was introduced in 1939, and it was still on issue right up to the 80s with the Army cadets, so it had a long life. The bottle itself is made of metal, enamelled. It's in multiple parts. So you've got the weakest part, which is the cork, with that screw bit in steel, which always rusts out. Then you have the neck welded onto it, which is another part. You have this top bit, which is welded on, which is another part. You have the main body, which is another part. And you have the base, which is another part. Multiple parts make up the 37 pattern water bottle or the Mark 7. Now, prior to this, there was a similar Mark 6, which was introduced in 1903 and was in use up to 1939, which is very similar looking, but it was in blue enamel, and some of those ended up being issued to the RAF. Very few blue enamel bottles were reissued to the British Army. In 1939, 1940. The bottle was designed to hold 2 pints of water, and it was shaped to fit around the guy's thigh, given where it was worn on the 37 pattern web equipment. So you had, generally speaking, the shoulder strap that came round through the back buckle of the belt. The shoulder strap fitted to a buckle on the cover, and the front of the shoulder strap, when it come down, fitted to the other. So it kind of sat on the guy's thigh, so it had to be shaped to fit on the guy's thigh. The water bottle, when it was introduced, was already old-fashioned, because the Mark 6 existed, which was very, very similar, but it was blue enamel. The cover was provided for the bottle. Most bottles, you very rarely see like that, most bottles have a khaki woolen cover attached to it, permanently sewn. The only way to get it off is to undo the stitching, and that's how you normally get them. Originally, these bottles, in the Mark 7 format, the covers were of a thicker, lightish colour. And then, when production got fully underway, and to save stuff for war economy purposes, the cover was changed to a darker, much more thinner quality. This one I took apart because it was originally fitted to this water bottle, and I noticed something with this water bottle which is very interesting. This particular one is marked up 1941 inside, and you're not going to see any of that unless you undo it. It's in 3 pieces. You've got the base, you've got the body, and you've got the top. And as you can see, it fits into the water bottle, like so. So, when the Mark 7 comes out, it's issued with this cover. The purpose of this cover is not only to protect the enamel. In winter, the cover prevents the contents from freezing, and in summer, the whole bottle can be soaked in water, and the water-soaked outer cover will draw heat away from the contents of the bottle. So the cover actually had a dual purpose. Also, the cover killed the noise a bit, you see. So that was another purpose of the cover. Now, originally, the British Army, before the Mark 7 was introduced, had the Mark 6. The Mark 6 was all blue enamel. They were rendered obsolete. Very few were issued to the Army. They were rendered obsolete in 1939 when this bottle came out. And obviously in 1940, British Army goes to Dunkirk with all the equipment. Evacuation from Dunkirk, they left quite a lot of the equipment behind, including the water bottles. So when the British Army was being re-equipped, they had a shortage of pure olive water bottles Mark 7. And the Mark 7 bottle is olive outside, but it's also olive inside as well. So they had a shortage of these. So to back up the shortage, what they did was, they took a stock of the previous Mark 6 all blue enamel bottles, hastily re-enameled them. You can see how badly that's been re-enameled by the dimpling on it. They hastily re-enameled them, redated them, post-Dunkirk dates, 1941, and reissued them as a Mark 7 to make up for the shortfall in the proper Mark 7 bottles. Because inside this one, if you look, I don't know if you can see it, but inside this one, it's actually blue enamel. So this bottle, at some stage, has been a blue enamel Mark 5 bottle. The way of suspending them from the equipment, originally, there was a kind of skeleton harness, something like this, but not exactly like this. There was a skeleton harness, and it would have had one of those buckles on this side and one on that side. The bottle would go in, it would be suspended from the equipment. Sometime later on in the war, the skeleton harness was replaced by a bag style harness like this, and that's how the bottle kind of sat into it. Then at some point, this kind of special skeleton harness assembly with a permanently attached shoulder strap was issued. This one was the water bottle carrier that was issued to other services who didn't require a water bottle to be carried on their equipment belt, like motor transport drivers and things like that. So there is a variation of the skeleton one. And like I said, the normal skeleton one had these type of buckles on them, and they had an additional strap that came around and fastened around the water bottle with a popper. They're very common. This one was still being issued in 1953. Because like I say, these water bottles, although they came in about 1939, they were still an issue right up until the 1980s, and they are very common. And the prices will vary greatly, but occasionally you do find little variations, you know, like this blue enamel one. Also, there's variations in the way that the string is attached to the bottle. In most of them, it's attached by a wire section like that, which is a round wire section. Some of them, depending on the manufacturer and the ease of making them, had this flat piece of metal. So you see, that's got the uncommon flat method of the piece of metal that attaches the string. And this one, I'll show you with this one. This one has the more common wire style attachment for the string. So there's the 37 pattern water bottle, as we call it. There's quite a few variations within the theme. And it's only called a 37 pattern water bottle because we, collectors and dealers, have called it a 37 pattern water bottle. But in reality, it's the water bottle Mark 7. After the war, the British Army thought, well, this was old-fashioned when it was new, we need to replace it. So they took a look at the American Model 1910 canteen, which was far better in design, and they reissued a brand new water bottle for the 1944 pattern equipment, which eventually evolved into the 1980s, 1958 pattern plastic water bottle. So yeah, but they're outside the scope of this collection. But yeah, so this is the, as we call it, the 37 pattern British Army water bottle. So I hope this has been some interest to the Jake Brown collection. I do have a skeleton harness, but I don't know where I've put it at this moment in time. A lot of these bag harnesses you find in mint unissued condition. This one isn't in mint unissued condition, and they're always dated at some point inside. I bought a lot when they were surplus. That's 43. I think most of the skeleton ones, when you find them, are made by the Bata Shoe Company, which was an Indian shoe company based in Britain at the time. So yeah, so they're by no means rare, but a bit like what we call the 37 pattern entrenching tool. Prices are now astronomical. I remember buying these at car boot sales for £1 and £2 each. I did have a heap at them at one stage, like my 37 pattern entrenching tools. I had a lot of them, and back in the day, 37 pattern entrenching tools, all complete, were £10 each. Now they're like 150 quid. It's getting that way with these. These now are so expensive, like 40, 50, 60 quid, that now people are making reproduction 37 pattern equipment and 37 pattern water bottles. So you do have to be careful out there. But yeah, so there are variations within the theme. So what a dealer might sell as just a basic 37 pattern water bottle might be a little bit special. But of course, you can't sit there unpicking all the thread off the original bag just to see what date it is, because that's the only place you'll find a date or a maker's mark. And like I say, all of these bottles, they all come like that, sewn into a bag of one description or another. So that's the 37 pattern British Army water bottle. Would you like me to do some more 37 pattern web equipment? I've got quite a lot. We can do entrenching tools, things like that. But yeah, so I hope this has been of some interest to not only the Jake Brown collection, who requested it, but to anybody watching it. So there are variations within the theme. Bye for now.